Hey guys, it's Kyle down here at Lunicycle. Today we're going to be doing an oil change on the Talaria Sting. If you own a Talaria Sting MX3, 4, or 5, they all have a Gearbox primary transmission just like this. This one's opened up so I can show you just how simple this is. It's 3 steel gears, and there's a little bit of oil that floats around in here and gets moved from gear to gear. It's a very simple transmission. It's not like a transmission in a car with solenoids that need to be activated with oil. You just have some gear oil in here floating around, keeping all these gears nice and happy. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to need to do is remove the bash guard and remove this little cover. Now the break-in oil that's in it is recommended to be changed at 300 kilometers. We believe this is pretty conservative from Talaria. You can go quite a bit further than that. Here at Luna we say change the break-in oil at 300 miles and then you're good for 3,000. So once you have your bash guard removed, you can remove this little cover. Just remove the beauty plate, and then you have access to the gearbox. Now before you open up this drain plug, you do want to be sure the vent tube clip is open. You can also open up the little filler hole. That's just this little plastic dipstick on the top here. This will help you drain out the oil. This is also what you want to use when you're filling up the gearbox. Just check the level with the dipstick. Now, Talaria is famous for putting their bolts on too tight with too much Loctite. So the last thing you want to do is round out the threads on this little drain plug here. If it doesn't come off easy, it's going to come off hard. Now I'm going to put a link in the description on where you can get a little blowtorch. If this doesn't come off very easy with a 17 mil spanner, then it's best to heat it up. You want to use the torch not on the nut itself or the bolt itself, but on this little area right here. If you heat this up really good, you should be able to get this drain plug off. If you've heated this up and you're still having difficulty getting this nut loose, I do recommend you use a 6-point socket. Socket with 6 points, not 12. But you'll notice in order to get a socket on there, you do need to move this little beauty plate mount. Now these bolts right here can be very tight too, so you may want to use your torch to heat up these bolts. You only need to remove one of them and then just loosen the upper one, and this little mount will just move right out of the way. And then you will be able to use a nice 17 mil socket where you can really put some leverage on this thing and get this loose. But most of you guys are going to be at home with a spanner. I do recommend using the box end of this. You can get a better grip on it than just the open point. But let's go ahead and get this drained. We're going to go ahead, grab our coffee tin. I'm going to go ahead and just crack this loose with my socket here. If you are having difficulty with this, you can go ahead and hit this with a hammer. This will create like a mini impact and get this drain plug nice and loose. As you can see, this oil is pretty clean. This bike is very low miles. You'll also see that there's really not that much oil in there. Just go ahead and let this drain for a while. You can rotate the rear wheel to get more of this oil out, but you want to just drain as much of the oil out as you possibly can. You'll never get all of it, but get as much out as you possibly can. Also, on this drain plug, this is a magnet, You may see some tiny little metal shavings on there. That's totally normal when gears break in. Just clean off the metal shavings and you'll be good to go. If you did damage this, we do sell these. I'll put a link in the description where you can get yourself a new drain plug. We'll go ahead and let this drain. I'm going to fully remove this dipstick just to help it drain a little more. Alright, once you've got all the oil drained out, it's time to reinsert the drain plug. The torque spec on this is 25 Newton meters, which is likely much less than it was from the factory. 25 is tight, but not too tight. I know you guys always give me a hard time for not using torque wrenches. It's because most people at home don't have torque wrenches. We do have plenty here that we use all the time. So 25 is tight, but not crazy tight. We're going to go ahead and reinsert this little lower bolt just so we don't forget about it. And now it's time to fill up the oil. Here at Luna, we do have some synthetic gear oil that we're going to be selling, but all of your bikes come with 85, 90 weight gear oil from Talaria. This stuff works just fine too, and it also has all the instructions of how to change the oil. We're going to go ahead and fill this up with some synthetic redline oil. Use the little ketchup style tip, and all these are pre-measured to the proper amount, but if you didn't get all of the oil out, which you likely never will, then just use the dipstick to check the oil level. If you put too much or slightly too little, it's not the end of the world. Again, you can see the inside, and this is a very simple transmission. Alright, once you've emptied the oil canister, it is time to check the level with the dipstick. You go ahead and insert the dipstick. Be sure to tighten it all the way down, then pull it back out to get your reading. And you can see here we have plenty of oil in this gearbox. I know many guys are very paranoid about exactly how much oil to put in there. There was some bad information on the very first MX3s. It told you to put way too much oil. But now the MX3, the MX4, and the MX5 all use the same amount of oil, and it's 90 milliliters. Alright, now you've successfully changed the oil in your Talaria Sting gearbox. Again, if you're using synthetic oil, these gearboxes are nearly indestructible. It is just 3 simple gears. Don't be too worried about exact mileage when changing these. If you've gotten to 3,000 miles and you stick a Q-tip in here and your oil's still clean, you're good to go. Don't even worry about changing it. So now it's time to get out there and ride.